Yo, we got the elders getting destroyed. A combined Nika Bonney and Nika Luffy attack with Straw Hats thrown in. We get the ancient giant robot returning and showing shocking levels of power. Not to mention we hear the original Joy Boy speak in this chapter. Even the Vega Punk transmission resumes and more, so make sure to stay tuned for this epic, insane chapter. It's one of those chapters before a break, and those always seem to deliver harder. So you don't want to miss that. Channel King Within, and smash that like button if you enjoy One Piece videos like this one and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama if you haven't already by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece videos and updates. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. Now, the last chapter was insane in its own right, with Elder Mars with his Moltres powers setting fire to the giant's ship. Luffy turned Gear 5 and so did Bonney by using Distorted Future where I'm most free. So we had two giant sun god Nikas ready to defend the ship against Elder Mars. But other elders were fast approaching too, like Warcury, who gave Luffy and Dorian Broggy a lot of trouble, and pretty much got nowhere with him. Obviously, a lot of people weren't happy with the Bonney becoming the second sun god Nika thing. After all, it took Luffy a long time to get to this point, and a 12-year-old girl just made it look so easy. But I think this chapter will calm people down a bit, as we'll get into. So this chapter is called Emeth, and a quick search will reveal that Emeth is the Hebrew word for truth. Fun fact, it contains the first, middle, and last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, indicating that truth encompasses all things and endures from beginning to the end. We'll get more into the definition and its relevance when we get to that part in the chapter, because it definitely is relevant, as we'll see. I don't always mention the cover story, but this one hits different. It's called Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage Volume 9, and we see kids who hate Kaido throw a rock at Yamato's head while Yamato is traveling to Kibi. That's a powerful image right there and shows how unfair it is to judge someone based on their parents, as we know that Yamato actually helped stop Kaido's cruel rule. So I had to mention the cover story this time for that reason, because I think it is really significant and a powerful one. But this chapter starts inside Egghead Laboratory, and Kaku has been released from the bubble by Stussy. But Kaku is angry with Stussy for the last words Edison told her. Kaku says, "Friends, don't make me laugh." He tells Stussy to go away before Lucci arrives. However, despite what he's saying, we can see Kaku's face while he talks, and he is holding back tears. Honestly, I never thought about this when Stussy initially betrayed them, but it makes sense that they developed a bond over time. And clearly that bond was reciprocated by Kaku, who is getting emotional. The betrayal must have hurt, but releasing him speaks volumes too. To be fair, it is like someone saving you from drowning after pushing you into the water, but it goes with the whole complexity and messiness of being human, and proves again that Stussy, clone or not, is having a very human experience. I also can't help but wonder how much more we'll see of CP0 and if another team up could be waiting for us down the line, especially when we heard that the elders kind of view Kaku and friends as insects. I also really like Stussy and want to see more of her down the line. The whole vampire thing is very cool too. I want to learn more about that specific fruit. We then cut to Egghead Shore, where honestly the craziest stuff is going down. This is where we want to be. This is also where the cliffhanger stopped last chapter. The giants are cheering for Luffy and Bonney, and Mars talks to them. Giants say Nika with a heart. And yeah, the giants are mostly cheerleaders in this chapter, as we'll see. Meanwhile, Mars comments, "Two Nikas? That is merely a fake transformation thanks to Toshitoshi no Mi powers. Don't get ahead of yourself," end quote. And even if that's harsh, that is at least in part true. This is not the real McCoy, if you will, and we're about to see that. Yes, it could very well help Bonney fight and give her a power boost, and there may be an intimidation factor or a worry because the Nika power and thus myth seems to be spreading. And since people in prison would disappear for even discussing Nika as a myth, it's not surprising why now two Nikas in the flesh could be viewed as a big problem by the world government. But we all know what Kaido said and how true it is. Haki beats devil fruit powers. Haki mastery is how you rule the seas, and you can bet 12-year-old Bonnie's Haki is nowhere close to Luffy's. Even if these two look similar in appearance, we all know Bonney won't add the combat power of another Luffy to the Straw Hats, so I really think there's no need to feel like Bonnie's ability makes Luffy's transformation less special. Moltres Mars proceeds to attack the Elbaf ship with another fire blast from his mouth. Luffy continues continuing the tradition of fighting in a fun and fanciful way in this form, transforms into a gigantic balloon to block the fire. Luffy shouts in pain, but he manages to hold the fire back and protects their ship. Now that's extreme rock, paper, scissors for you. Rubber balloon beats fire blast. Here is where things get really good. Luffy then goes on the offensive. He stretches his arms and grabs both of Mars's wings. Then he talks to Sanji and the others. He says, these monsters recover no matter what we do, so the only way we have to take care of them is to blow them away as far as possible, end quote. Love to see Luffy getting strategic here and finding a way to potentially win in a situation where the opponent is immortal for all intents and purposes. Luffy asks Bonney, Sanji, and Frankie to attack his balloon body with everything they have. Bonney is initially shocked, but they all follow the plan. Sanji attacks with Ifrit Jambe, Hell Memories, Frankie with Strong Impact Right, Bonney with Extra Large Nika Punch. Their combined attack hits Luffy's back, and with cartoon logic that is out of control in Gear 5, Luffy is able to absorb it so that he can unleash the combined power in a second against an opponent. At first though, he shouts that it hurts because they used Haki, so hopefully their Haki is being transferred into the following ultimate attack too. Luffy makes his body even bigger and pushes Mars towards his giant belly. Luffy launches Gomu Gomu no Dawn Balloon, aka Gum Gum White Balloon. He combines the Bonney, Sanji, and Frankie attacks with his own strength and blows Mars away across the sea. Since Toon Logic is going strong with Gear 5, it shouldn't surprise you that we see a flash in the sky to signify where Mars disappeared to. Just like when Team Rocket is defeated in Pokemon and they go blasting off again. And now my calling him Moltres this whole time makes even more sense. Pokemon references abound and I'm loving it. I'm very happy with this result too. I hope this means that Mars is done as far as the current fight and situation goes. And that is exactly what I said I wanted last chapter, for them to overpower at least one Elder, because honestly, Warcury was doing insanely good against Luffy and Broggy and Dory, and it would be a shame if that's the way Oda left it. Now Oda over-delivers here. Not only did they just send Mars blasting off again, Team Rocket style, he's about to give them another crack at more Elders, including Warcury in a minute. But first, after pushing Mars away, it's clear that the Elbaf ship is ready to set sail. Luffy asks where are Usopp and the others, while Sanji says they are late. It doesn't shock me that on the Elbaf ship, Usopp was the first one thought of here. Also, don't ask me why it was everyone but the Giants who helped send Mars flying away and save the Elbaf ship, because I don't have a good answer. Dory and Broggy could have definitely contributed to that combined attack, at least if you ask me. Anyways, Atlas tells Sanji and the others that they need to go and do something first. Then she tells Lilith in her head that York is able to track their movements now. Atlas is about to say what they must do, but the scene cuts to another scene. This is honestly a very interesting development, and they definitely need to solve this issue. They can't have the Elders always spying on their location and thus giving away the location of the Straw Hats if they're with them too. Hopefully there is a solution that doesn't involve the death of Atlas and or Lilith, although I can also potentially see this gimmick being used to mislead York and the Elders, and so thinking they'll find the Straw Hats with the satellite, one of the satellites may purposely separate from them in order to lead the Elders astray, thus giving the Straw Hats more time to get to safety. We'll see how far Oda wants to take this idea though. We then cut to underwater, which is always an interesting cut. As I expected and mentioned last chapter, no way our giant ancient robot bro would be dealt with so easily after all that buildup. Here he gets up and the transmission Denden Mushi inside it wakes up again too. So yes, again we have more of Vegapunk's message. We know we have some parts to fill in, but honestly Oda can use this to drop any out of context reveals that he wants to. There are interruptions here and there, but here is what we're told, and I quote, "The thing that was inherited ... can be called a will ... I hope this message will reach ... those who are swayed by the cause," end quote. So part of this is not that surprising. We've all heard of the will of D, and this just seems to be reaffirming the fact that those with D in their names seem to have inherited a similar will to those who came before them. Probably one tied to rising up and overthrowing the government that is trying to control them. What's perhaps more interesting is the latter part, where Vegapunk was constantly tiptoeing around who's good or bad, and doesn't even speculate that the world government is at fault for destroying Lucia and stealing the Mother Flame, seems to be pushing for a side in this broadcast, confirming to the public that he has a horse in this race. He hopes the message will reach those swayed by the cause. Hopefully that means something along the lines of he hopes it'll reach those on the side of freedom, meaning those against the corrupt world government. And he knew how corrupt those guys were. Just think what they did to Kuma, so it should be stated in the broadcast in plain terms. However, because of the transmission trouble, again, it's out of context enough so that people probably aren't getting the truth about the government, and the world government may be able to control the narrative as a result. We see more reactions around the world when Vega Punk appears on the screen again. In Whole Cake Island, we even see Karakuri, Moscato, Brownie, and Zukoto wondering what is he talking about now. So yeah, like I said, people aren't really getting to the truth from the looks of it. Vivi and Morgans are in shock again too, seeing that the transmission is back. We even see Gaimon and his girl Sarfunkel, which is only fair since we saw practically everyone else, but since they don't have any Dendenmushi, they are not aware of the worldwide broadcast. That's hilarious and a nice touch from Oda. Seeing Gaimon is always a treat and a blast from the past for me, since we met him like 1,100 chapters ago. So back to Egghead, and York tells the 5 elders that the transmission Dendenmushi uses separate circuits for transmission and memory storage. In other words, the only way to permanently stop the broadcast is to destroy it completely. Dune Worm Peter spits out the Cypherpole agents and Seraphims onto the marine battleships, then starts sucking back the Elbaf ship. Man, this is really gonna be a challenge to the end. Like, perhaps after Mars they could have gotten away before the other elders came, but no, they have to fight for this escape until the very end. Luffy jumps back to the shore and punches Dune Peter in the face in order to stop him. But while Luffy is punching him, Warkiri the Unhurtable comes running past him and actually jumps towards the Elbaf ship. Man, this is epic stuff right here. Warkiri is about to crash into the ship. Luffy says, "Oh no, the boar is coming. Be careful, that guy's head is super hard." And if you'll remember, a Gear 5 Luffy hurt his hand by punching him in the face. Broggy also says, "That guy looks like trouble. Let's move or he will break our ship in pieces." We see that Bonney has turned back into a kid after extra large Nika punch. So again, shows the difference between this distorted future form and the real thing. Although it made for a great big cliffhanger panel last chapter, actual substance wise, all she could do was launch one attack before she resorted back to child form. Another reason for people to not take this second Nika too seriously. But still, it begs the question, what if she used distorted future on someone with high hockey levels and high stamina like Zoro? How long could he maintain that Nika form? I hope Oda explores or at least addresses that possibility at some point. But after she's turned back, Sanji says, "Bonnie-chan," and Bonnie says, "I can't do this anymore. Freedom is so exhausting." An interesting statement in and of itself philosophically. In terms of history, freedom never did come easy. But that's when Luffy notices something coming underwater. It's the ancient robot that remembers Joy Boy's voice from the past, although we can't see Joy Boy yet. The ancient giant robot says, "Joy Boy." In an epic double page spread, the ancient robot rises out of the sea and punches the unhurtable Warkiri in the face. You might think that if Gear 5 Luffy didn't do much, then the ancient giant can't either. But you'd be wrong. The giant actually breaks one of Warkiri's fangs, showing his insane power. Joy Boy of the past told him, "Listen, Emeth. When the time comes, you must." And Emeth replied, "The time?" End quote. So Emeth seems to be the name of our ancient giant. The time he was told about seems to be this time right now. I said earlier on that the name Emeth means truth and reflects how it's there in the beginning and the end. And this ancient robot was there when the war started and now looks like it's here when it's near its end too. Besides truth, Emeth also means firmness and faithfulness. Clearly the ancient robot has remained firm and faithful to Joy Boy after all this time. Not to mention, this ancient robot is probably the key to a whole lot of truth about the Void Century. Now hopefully we can learn it before the elders end the ancient robot's whole career. Last chapter I mentioned I can't wait until Luffy comes face to face with the ancient robot, and as if Oda was listening, we get that here during the very next chapter. Everyone is shocked by the appearance of this overpowered ancient robot. Dory and Broggy's eyes pop out of their sockets and Luffy's eyes sparkle. Dory and Broggy ask, "What is this guy?" and Luffy says robot, a perfectly Luffy thing to say. The editor lets us know that romance, there's that word again, is on the move once more. So much craziness here with an elder blasting off again, another punch in the face by Gear 5 Luffy, another effectively attacked and hurt by the ancient robot called Emeth, who stayed faithful to the old Joy Boy and now finds himself in front of the new era Joy Boy. So epic, such a great time to be a One Piece fan, so much going on at once. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this Gear 5 Yonko in action, then you won't want to miss my video on arguably the strongest Yonko currently, Shanks. Link on screen right now. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.